So to continue on in section 1.4, we're going to do one last example using our percent equation. And then as we're going through this one, we're going to kind of go through from the whole entire process, starting with our two-way table from beginning to end. So a group of students at a local community college were asked if they were enrolled in a math class this semester. The table shows the results for the men and women surveyed. So first thing we need to do is we need to go through and find our missing totals. Right, so 27 plus 11 gives us 38. Right, 51 plus 25 gives us 76. Going across, 27 plus 51 gives us 78. 11 plus 25 gives us 36. So similar numbers, but not exactly the same. And then if we add these two values or add these two values, either way, we should get our total of 114. All right, so for B, what percent of people are enrolled in a math class? Right, so as we're going through, actually all of these, remember we're using our basic percent formula. Percent equals part divided by whole. Right, so for B through E, we're looking for percents. So we're going to keep using this same division formula over and over again. Right. What percent of people were enrolled in a math class? Right. Well, how many people were enrolled in a math class? Right. So that's going to be the yes. We have 78. Right. So that's our part, and then our total is 114. So 78 divided by 114. Right. So the total number of people was our whole. And then the part was the number of people in our math class. This divides, it gives us 0.6842. Again, we're going to write it as a percent rounded to a tenth. Again, as you're going through the homework online, just make sure you are rounding correctly as you are being told to do. Right, what percent of men were not enrolled in a math class? Right, well, the number of men that were not enrolled in a math class, our part is 11. But notice that in this time, right, in the last example, the number of people that we were looking for, that was our total, right? That was our whole. In this case, our whole is actually going to be our percent of men, right? So we're not looking at our total, we're looking at the percent and the number of men. So that means we're going to take this 11 and divide it by our total number of males, which is 38. 11 divided by 38, 0.2894, which is going to give us 28.9%. For D, what percent of women? Right, so now our whole is going to be restricted to our group of women who are enrolled in a math class. Right. We had 51 females enrolled in a math class divided by 76, which is our total number of women. So 51 divided by 76 is going to be 0.6711, which we're going to round to 67.1%. Right, for E, what percentage of people who were enrolled in a math class were female? Right, people is W, right, that's our whole, so we're looking at our total this time. Excuse me, not our total, our people who were enrolled in a math class, right? So this kind of all goes together. It's not just the total number of people, but the people who were enrolled in our math class, right? That's going to be our total. So the number of females is 51. Divided by the total that said yes, they were enrolled in a math class is 78. Right. So again, we're not going out of our total, we're going out of our total that said yes, they were enrolled in a math class. 51 divided by 78, 0.6538, which is going to give us 65.4%. Oops. All right, then for this last example, last part of our example, example F, we're still using that table up at the top as kind of our basis for this information, but notice that we're given a slightly different scenario. Suppose that in a group of 600 women, right, the percentage who were enrolled in a math class were the same as this sample. how many of the 600 women would be enrolled in a math class. So in this case, unlike examples B through F, we are going to use our percent equation that solve for part. Right? If we're looking for the number of women that would be enrolled in our math class, so our part is going to be our percent times our whole. Now looking at this, it's pretty easy to figure out what our whole is, right? Because we're given a number of 600, right? So we're definitely going to be using that for our whole. Right? The percentage who were enrolled in a math class were the same as this sample. Right? So if we look back up to our other parts of this question, notice that part D says what percent of women were enrolled in a math class. And this is a percentage that we are thinking about and using for part F. Right? So this value from up here is this percentage that we are looking at and using for this last part of our question. So our percent, we're going to write it as a decimal, so 0.671. Right, shift our decimal point back over so it looks like this. We're just going to leave it rounded to 1 decimal point. You could put the other one on there, that's fine too. And then we're going to multiply this by our whole, which is 600. Right, we get 402.6. We can't have a part of a person, right? We can't have a decimal here for our number answer for this case. So we're going to round this to the next nearest number, right? So I'm going to put little squiggly lines because that means approximately equal to, or we're going to round it to 403, right? We're going to round up because of that 6 after the decimal point. So in this case, in a group of 600 women, if the percentage was the same as what was in our sample, right, we multiply and we round to get 403 women. Right, so this is our last big example, kind of using the percent equation. There's a lot of problems in your homework, and as we're going through this chapter, possibly be on the test, mini quiz, things along these lines that are using our basic percent equation.